We're going to try and make things lighter tonight than we did past few days or weeks. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the difference between Litvaks and Galitzianers. I have two handouts for you, and you don't have to take notes on anything in the handouts other than what we discussed here in the video. I hope that's clear. The first handout has on the topic Yivo Litvak. Yivo is a Yiddish research institute which still exists in Lower Manhattan, although they just fired all their workers recently because of the COVID virus, and I don't know if it's going to continue. But here is a little bit tongue-in-cheek definition of a Litvak and the opposition, the Galitzianer. Now, this is of course, in Eastern Europe, there are many, many different regions with many, many, many unique qualities and peculiarities. But over time, basically, Eastern European Judaism has boiled down to the Litvak Misnaged versus the Galitzianer Chassid. And this is the stereotype. These are the stereotypes with which we deal with today. So if you take a look at the handout which says Yivo Litvak on top, in the third paragraph, Litvaks are most readily and objectively identified by their distinctive Yiddish dialect, one that differs in several key respects from the spoken Yiddish of a large majority of East European Jews. The two most prevalent features of Lithuanian Yiddish are its pronunciation in certain regions of the letter shin as sin. I haven't actually heard that. Some Yiddish linguists argue that the sounds of these two consonants are conflated, not confused. That means they know what they're saying. They just kind of make them go together, kind of like S and C in the English language, by Litvaks. And the differing pronunciation of most Yiddish vowels. For example, while the Galitzianer eats kigel on Shabbos, Litvak eats kugel on Sabbath. Because of these different vowel pronunciations, Litvaks are the same mockingly referred to by Hasidic Jews, Polish and Hungarian origin as Lutvaks, while Litvaks reciprocate the mockery by referring to Polish Jews as Palische, as opposed to Polish Yidden. And this brings us to one of the major differences, which is not listed here, how to pronounce a cholam. Now, the cholam is what Americans pronounce in Hebrew as an O, as in modeh, right? There are at least, besides all the Sephardic pronunciations, there are at least 3 Ashkenazic pronunciations. There is the pronunciation of the Yekis, which is very rarely heard, except inside their shuls, where an O is an ow, as in maudeh, maudeh ani lefanecho. And there is the Litvish pronunciation, which is as where the O is a tzere, and you will hear that among real Litvaks and among, or obviously nobody born in Lithuania anymore, just about, but people who want to be identified as real Litvaks and among Lubavitchers, because they're Litvish Hasidus. They would say meideh ani lefanecho. It would be a Litvish pronunciation. And then you have the Polish pronunciation, which has or sometimes called Hamish, which is kind of like something which may younger yeshiva bachrim adopt and discard later in life, which is an oi for an O. Moideh ani lefanecha. So those are the 3 major ways to pronounce it, with the American, the classic American, and probably the person who's most correct in this case, pronouncing it neither as an ow, nor as an a, nor as an oi, but as an o. Modeh ani lefanecha. Okay, continuing on, back to that same handout, the Litvish pronunciation, if you see in the next paragraph, was almost universally recognized as the right one. And in a song, which I'm going to play for you a little bit later, which is makes fun of the difference between Litvish and Galitzianer pronunciations, the one of the lines is that the husband is a Litvak, the wife's a Galitzianer, and the wife accuses the husband, who won't speak in Galitz, as going to the Ritz. Going to the Ritz is a term used as a phrase in English, which means great fancy. And the Litvish pronunciation is considered to be the fancier pronunciation, the more intelligent pronunciation, opposed to the more earthy pronunciation of the Galitzianer. I see it does bring up in this paragraph. Litvak pronunciation of vowels almost universally recognized that the correct one was the standard used for Hebrew Yiddish instruction in Jewish schools throughout Poland, Galicia, and the Russian Empire from the late 19th century. No exception was the Litvak pronunciation of oi as a, namely teira, instead of toira for Torah. The stereotypical Litvak, now this is tongue-in-cheek, meaning that it's not to be taken 100% seriously, because it's a stereotype. No stereotype is actually accurate. Stereotypical Litvak is portrayed as unemotional, withdrawn, intellectual, and mercilessly critical. He challenges authority and is by nature skeptical, stubborn, and impatient with and suspicious of others. So Litvak's commitment to tradition is suspect in the eyes of the Chassid. His Judaism purely intellectual. Hyperbolic expression, that means exaggerated expression. Hyperbole is a good word, means exaggerated way of expressing oneself. Of the stereotype maintained that even when he is studying Torah, Litvak has one leg out of the door of the Beis Medrash, on his way to inevitable apostasy. He studies Mishnah, Talmud, Halacha codes publicly, when the stereotype, but at the same time critically glances into Christian scripture. That almost never happened. Or reads Marx or Tolstoy. That actually was something which did happen. The interest in the general world, which comes from the Gra, but extended later on not just to secular sciences or secular knowledge, but to secular ideas and the isms, as they are called of the day. Isms, socialism, Zionism, capitalism, communism. Anything which ends with an ism is like a political idea. Sorry. Litvak was called derisively Tselem Kopf, meaning split the head of Litvak and you'll find a cross. Again, exaggeration. There was widespread suspicion among Polish Jews that Litvaks somehow lacked a Yiddish neshama and authentic Jewish soul. And there was something inherently flawed, goyish, and lacking an authentic Yiddish Jewish flavor, Yiddish tam about them. Litvaks are almost never called Hamish. The word Hamish has no good definition, but almost never applies to Litvaks. And certainly not to Yekkes. The latter confirmed by Litvaks' austere diet, which contrasts with the sweeter, more complex foods of the Galitzianers. While Polish, Galician, and Romanian Jews would typically sweeten the most popular Jewish staple foods, such as gefilte fish kugel with sugar, cinnamon, raisins, and the like, Litvaks prepared their food with salt and pepper, appropriate according to the stereotype, but to their bitter personalities. The Galitzianer's gut is too big, but he has a small head, wrote Mendel Moicher Sfarim, a Yiddish writer of the late 19th century. The Litvak's gut is too small, but he has a big head. Most of the traits attributed to Litvaks grew out of when they were not defined by developments in East European Jewish history after the late 18th century. The most far-reaching which was the widespread opposition to Hasidim among Lithuanian Jews and the emergence of Vilna as the intellectual capital of East European Jewry. Litvaks, for the most part, were misnagdim, rejected Hasidic religious enthusiasm and emotionalisms and all forms of mystical superstition. All this you should have had in your notes from yesterday, and you do not have to take it then in your notes for today. In contrast to Hasidim, who maintained a worshipful, unquestioning attitude towards the tzaddik or the rebbe, the misnagdic Litvaks tended to question all authority, like some of my students who question all the authority of their teachers. A tendency encouraged and reinforced by the culture of the yeshivas, where critical learning was prized above piety, that means being more religious, or blind faith, and no one's above criticism. Still, the explanations regarding the etiology of Litvak culture and the causes for it vary. Lithuanian Jews' relative poverty, their land's cold climate and austere, meaning bleak terrain, and its proximity to Prussia, later to Germany, are referred to as contributing factors. But the towering influence on Lithuanian Jewry of the Gaon of Vilna, Eliyahu Reb Shlomo Zalman, is, according to most historians, responsible for many, if not most, of the distinctive aspects of Litvak culture. The Gaons were critical approach to Talmudic studies which rejected the fanciful casuistry, that means intellectual acrobatics, of Pilpul, his vociferous, that means very strong, opposition to the nascent, meaning newly born Hasidic movement, his personal asceticism, his personal refraining from all luxuries, his interest in meta-rabbinical disciplines, something which is beyond the simple shas and poskim, such as geometry, geography, and astronomy, are all said by both the Gaon's disciples and his detractors to have planted the seeds of all major elements of Lithuanian Jewish thought and culture for the century and a half following his death, until the liquidation of Lithuanian Jewry during the Holocaust. The next paragraph goes on to the 19th century, which we're not up to yet, so therefore I'm going to leave that out. For now, we're going to come back to that if we have time, but before the end of the year, either tomorrow or sometime next week. So the rest of this handout, we're not going to go to now. Again, maybe we'll come back to it. The next handout is one which says Torah Musings on it. I just closed it by mistake. And here also he brings down a description of the two types of Jews, and he says that in the second page of the handout, the second paragraph, this speaks about the difference between Litvaks and Galitzianer, and then the next paragraph says the Litvaks were both types of Ostjude, that means Jews from the east, but he had his own stereotype, which was applied to inhabitants of the areas in question as well to immigrants from them, and even to their descendants to this very day. Litvak originated in Lita, an area broader than interwar Lithuania between World War I and World War II, stretching as far east as Vitebsk and as far south as Minsk and Bialystok. Litvak was analytical, learned, worldly, skeptical, proud, stubborn, dynamic, and energetic. It was also dry, rational, and unemotional. By contrast, the Galitzianer, a Jew from the southern Polish province of Galicia, was warm-hearted, sly, witty, sharp, stingy, übergespitzt, crafty, something of a trickster, had a peculiar mix of shrewdness and hardiness. To be called Galitzianer was for long not much of a compliment, and denoted folksy backwardness, and at times also petty mercantile mentality, meaning having to do with making money as opposed to great ideas, and moral shiftiness not being as ethical as the Litvaks, which is really totally unfair, and again a ridiculous stereotype. And he goes on to describe these two types of different kinds of Yiddish. Lithuanian version was regarded as more cultivated, as I mentioned before. Polish Galician Yiddish was homespun and earthy. The split was also culinary, and this too we mentioned. Litvaks prepared their gefilte fish savory rather than sweet, and their farfel, egg noodle dough cooked in broth, as small pellets, rather than rolled into flat sheets that were then sliced, as was the custom among the Galitzianers. And then the next paragraph, he also identifies the split between Hasidim and Misnagdim, following to a certain extent the split between Galitzianers and Litvaks. He notes that Lubavitch is a Litvish Hasidus, and with that, we're going to stop for this evening, except that I have, as I said, a song on which you do not have to take notes. You'll just turn off the recording at this point, but you might enjoy the song, and therefore, I'm tacking it on.
Such aggravation, she's driving me up from my wits. She's from a different denomination. I'm a Litvak and she's a Galitz. We're happily married, I don't want to squat. We understand each other completely, except when we talk. I say Mutter, soll sie bitte. Sie ist mir bitter, ich soll Putter, soll sie bitter. What's the difference, Mutter, bitter, bitter, oh how I schwitz. Cause I'm a Litvak, and she's a Galitz. She's driving me crazy, but a bench, such a leaker. She don't even know what chicken is seeking. She keeps kicking out, speaking, says I pull on the Ritz. Cause I'm a Litvak, and she's a guy. I love my darling, there is no one finer. It's for even Carolina. By the way, I call a shade is on the shine. As I'm wondering, the red går in China. So mistakes, she says strangis. Every time that I get pregnant, she gets pregnant. So mistakes, stoikes, breakers, I'll call it quits. Cause I'm a Litvak, and she's a guy. I say, geh, so sie geil. I say, steh, so sie steil. I say, oi, so sie ei. Oi, weh, ei, wei. Why did I ever get married? I say, groß, so sie Gruß. I say, was, so sie Bus. I say, bloß, so sie Blues. I say, du, ihr Weber, soll der bloß an die Nuss. how she's talking, don't mean nothing. Such a language is forgotten. I said rotten, she says rotten. So ich rotten, datten, statten. So who stickes? She says stickes. Every time that I get breakers, she gets angry. So who stickes, breakers, breakers, I'll call it quits. Cause I'm a Litvak. A place in Litvak. And she said, what's my